guess is where I think about AI and facilitation is it has to be a tool that enables humanness, not a tool that replaces or attempts to replace humanness. And
Yeah, check your seat. Yeah. Hey now, what's the buzz? Tech's evolving, it's all because we're shaping the world in every way. Tech Sculptics, baby, leading today. Web3, AI, crypto dreams.
Welcome everyone once again to Tech Sculptics. This is the B to the E to the WNORY, Benori, also known as Benedict Ojobo. Now today we have a very interesting topic, and it's about facilitation and AI tools. Facilitation is one of the most human things we do. It's about empathy, energy, and connection. But what happens when you bring AI into that space? Can technology actually enhance how we guide people and learning experiences? Today on Tech Sculptics, I'm joined by Kevin Watson, and we're exploring how facilitators can blend human intuition with AI tools, not to replace the magic of human connection, but amplify it always. So welcome, Kevin Watson, to Tech Sculptics.
Thank you, Ben. I'm Kevin Watson, and I'm a tech sculptor.
Awesome,
Looking forward to the
awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. So I'm just going to say, Kevin is the founder of Facilitators Cafe, and he has spent over 20 years designing and delivering leadership programs and team development workshops, and now he supports other facilitators and coaches through events, resources, and community. And Kevin is helping people feel inspired, grow, and do great things. As co-founder of Asima, supporting human connections with digital tools. Welcome, Kevin, once again to Tech Sculptics.
Thank you for that build-up. That's really lovely.
Yeah.
Two of my great passions, facilitation and helping people, and combining that with some tech. It's a lovely thing.
Awesome. So we're going to jump right into some of the questions I have prepared for you. The first one is about blending human and machine. Facilitation is, at its core, a deeply human skill about connection, empathy, and guiding groups. Now, how do you feel, or how do you see AI tools complementing rather than replacing the human side of facilitation?
So if I step back for a minute and think about the emergence of AI, particularly in the last few years, since kind of COVID hit the world and the world went crazy, I think people have leapt onto AI, and there are two schools of thoughts. Is that AI will make us lazy because it'll do everything that we don't want to do, and more, and maybe even more intelligent than us at some point, which I'm with you on. I'm in a slightly different camp, which is I think that if we embrace the new technologies, it can help us re-energize some of the skills that make us human. And that is our ability to critically appraise stuff, to understand our world a little better by being critical and going deeper into it rather than accepting what a digital tool will bring us. And that, I guess, is where I think about AI and facilitation is it has to be a tool that enables humanness, not a tool that replaces or attempts to replace humanness. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example of what I mean. I guess really, I was thinking the other day when I was chatting with someone about this same topic, about how you might use AI in a facilitation event. And typically in a facilitation event where you're doing some ideation perhaps, and you've got a lovely board of post-it notes, which are the facilitators' major tool.
Yeah.
It's very easy to say that you could take pictures of those, feed it into AI and ask it to group it into affinity type groups, those groups that make most sense, and collect them as I would do with the group. And I thought, as I was chatting with this guy about that, I thought, well, if you do that, you're taking away the human ability to group those in different ways, and how that might bring you to different thoughts and different discussions. So I think it could disable that ability even though it seems like a good idea because AI will cut short what often is a quite a lengthy process. So I think it's a fine balance between how to use AI to enable and encourage more humanness, and how do you use it to do some lazy stuff which would be useful too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right, and that's true because the point I'm going to take from that is that I believe so strongly that AI is actually meant to enhance whatever we do. It's not supposed to replace the humanness, like the humanity in us, or take away that part of us and make us so like lazy in the quote. It's just supposed to help
Yeah.
us work faster and maybe save time. To have more time to connect more with each other, to have more time to spend maybe with family, or have more time to brainstorm with your coworker in the office or in whatever space you are, to be able to sit down together and chat thinking critically and try to propose solutions to problems together before you can now use AI to see how you can solve that problem faster and move to the next stuff. That's what I,
Yes.
I, I believe it's all about.
Yes, and I would kind of I'd go a little bit further than enhancing, although I'm hesitant because it may include enhancing, but it's about how do you expand the humanness and the human intelligence by using AI rather than allowing it to block it down and close it down. There's a lot of, I've heard there's a few studies going around about how it might be shutting off part of the brain when we're using AI. Little omega slaves will lose certain capabilities. And if that's true, and I've no doubt that some people much cleverer than I have done that study would put it forward, I think we got to invest time in education and usage to help people use AI to expand their thinking, not close it down. And that might be measured by the time you save, but I think more importantly, it might be measured by the quality of our thinking going up. So, how might we use AI in facilitation and life to develop a higher quality of thinking as humans, empathetic human,
Yeah.
emotional intelligence type thinking, as well as intellectual intelligence thinking? For me, there's a huge opportunity. For example, I don't know whether you do this, but I have trained my chat to be more provocative with me, to have more philosophical discussions with me. And I've had conversations with AI most recently that have kind of blown my mind and helped me think about situations, ideas, possibilities in a very different way than I might have done if I'd just been thinking about it myself, or indeed if I'd just been thinking about it with a friend or two. So I think there's an opportunity that I think there's a risk that we won't get that opportunity because human nature will take over. We don't like
Yeah.
to do stuff, so we'll be lazy
Yeah.
and we'll be like the
Yeah.
lotus eaters in Greek mythology, will be seduced by the sirens on the shore and
Exactly.
go to eat lotus. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. You're right. And that's true. Like you mentioned something profound. Like I realized, like so many people don't realize that you can actually customize your GPT to actually do stuff, personalize the way it responds to the prompts you give it. So many people just use it the way it is. I believe because it's new. So many people don't have that knowledge of thinking that they can personalize it to actually maybe write like them, maybe be critical or be technical or be conversational or fun. All those things are still not very out there. So except maybe people that are actually consultants and stuff, they know those stuff, so they use it as training tools to help people enhance those AI tools that they have. I'm sure with time, these things are going to be more common out there as people use them as much as possible. So now I'll jump right to the next question. Now,
Mm.
in your experience, what's one powerful way AI can help facilitators go beyond the traditional boundaries of workshops and learning sessions, something that wasn't possible before?
So I think not just AI but other digital products as well have been around for a while that's now being enabled further by AI is a move away from parachuting someone such as myself into a 2 day workshop, 1 day workshop, 1 hour workshop, and hoping that everything that they want to achieve will be achieved within that confines of that time. My background as a coach and facilitator tell me that often the change might be triggered in such an event, but the actual change occurs much later, can occur a day, 2 days, 3 days, 3 months, 5 months down the line, when the people in that session have done some heavy lifting themselves post that session. Particularly when I'm talking about behavioral change, not skills building, how you might change your behavior in order to get better results in whatever they want that result to be, and whatever context they want. So I think for me, the biggest gain in the last few years has been what I've heard many people call asynchronous learning, asynchronous work, which is that rather than me now parachuting into a session that a client is involving me with, I'm able to trigger work that streams through that workshop that starts before at some point, and there's some thinking and work going on, and then the point within the workshop is just an emphasis point to recollect and redrive whatever happens post that session as well, where they can keep that alive. And there's some great tools already that have been around that now have great AI in them, such as Miro, Mural, those kind of things, where you've got whiteboards that people can use inventively.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like the first point we were talking about, that people's imagination often stunts what you can do with this stuff.
Yeah.
So we tend to just obvious prompt, for example. We go to the most obvious way of using it, rather how could we really enhance digital capability, AI included, to have an approach to behavioral change as a program rather than an event. And I think that AI digital, but if we ask for the question again, that say the facilitation, how does AI and how will digital enhance facilitation?
Yeah.
For me, it's about that difference between being parachuted in to do an event, for doing a workshop of an hour, half a day, 2 days, whatever it might be, and expected that that time will trigger some massive change in the way that people work or live, is that the explosion or the development of digital and AI in the last few years has enabled asynchronous learning, asynchronous working, where you can set things in motion before an event and feed that through and during the event and then post event. So you're able to look at behavioral change, particularly, which is most of the work I do. And you can look at that as a program of behavioral change instead of an event triggering behavioral change. And that's far more powerful for people going through that. And they're able to embrace it in their own time, not just in a workshop setting.
Yeah, that's correct. I totally agree with that, because I feel, what about in the sense where like AI, you can use AI to design your workshop, like help you design from the beginning, like to the end. Apart from, and these days I notice a lot of facilitators are bringing up things like card decks, like using decks for facilitation. And now you can create decks with AI tools online that can give you all the decks you want to use during your facilitation to enhance the program, to make it more richer and all that kind of. So what do you think about that?
And I think they're brilliant. I'm developing a few tools myself at the moment. For example, I've just developed, using no code apps, a way of building Lego online. Familiar with Lego, the building bricks that kids use, and that can be really useful. There's something called Lego Serious Play, where you can use Lego as metaphor for behaviour, whether that be leadership, teamwork, or whatever context it might be. I use metaphor cards all the time when I'm with people, which are just photographs, images, and I use those regularly when I'm with people. And there are some tools which I've used online that enable you to do that. I think there's something different online and in present, and something we haven't quite figured out yet, I think, which is we're attempting to replicate the offline experience online. Rather like when Microsoft first came up, or whoever it was came up with, well, it would have been Microsoft Windows, and the desktop had to look like a desktop because our minds couldn't figure out a screen that wasn't familiar in a laptop.
Yeah.
So there's a way of how do we make things familiar, but also then how can we stretch that? What can we use tech for that we can't do offline? That would be a really interesting place to think about the tech rather than replicating the offline experience. How can we create an online experience which is unique in itself? That would be interesting.
Wow, that's awesome. So I'm going to jump to the next question, which is about the future of facilitation. Now, if you were to inspire facilitators who may feel uncertain about AI, what mindset shift or practical step will you encourage them to take so that they can confidently embrace these tools? And which would you recommend to start with?
I think there are several answers to that that would be dependent on the person that I'm with. So, for example, I have three daughters. Two of which are very creative. One's a writer and one's studying to do game art at the moment. The concept of characters and visualization within video games, and neither of them are very happy about AI because they believe that it's taking their creative, it's going to infringe their copyright of what they do.
Yeah.
So that's a very difficult argument to put to those kind of people. To put to people that are worried about it, I'd encourage them to play with it in a safe way, but encourage them to play with it in the same way we've been talking through this conversation, Ben, which is how could you use AI to enhance the experience you provide others and your own experience rather than just take away tasks. Because if you just use it to take away tasks, you will run the risk of you closing down some of your ability and some of the experience that you're providing for others, and you might be robbing them of the experience they could have. So I play with it, find ways to play with it in a safe way that you can experiment with. I think one of the slightly off the cuff remark that I got from someone was when we started doing virtual learning, virtual facilitation. They said to me, "You kind of expect everyone to have the same level of tech understanding as you do," and I'm not a first adopter, but I'm not far behind because I love playing with tech, always have done, and I'm not frightened about it falling over because I know that I can pick it up back up again. But a lot of people are worried about breaking it or breaking something. I think it's a bit like I think my mum used to put the mouse up here when she was doing something on the screen. She couldn't put it there. So I underestimated for sure people's propensity to use tech when lockdown happened over here in the UK. And I think the same with AI. It'd be very easy for me to believe everyone's playing with it, everyone's really excited with it, when actually that's not the case. I think there's an awful lot of people that either don't like it for the reasons I gave for my daughters, or are skeptical about it because they haven't had the courage to just put the foot in the water and just play with it and see what it can bring. They're also, I think, they were in danger of leaving some of those people behind in some ways, because some of the tools that we have at the moment are now at such a basic level that they're likely to fall away if we're not careful, because it's gone so quickly into vibe coding type territory and building agentic thinking that doing just a prompt is pretty boring now for most people that have been playing with it for a couple of years. So the normal kind of chat interface may well fall away, and it's likely to be something more like Comet, for example. Perplexity's Comet. I wouldn't be surprised if they start to rival Google at some point and the different behavior. So you almost got to get on it now. Because it's not going to go away. And if you don't get it on it now, you're going to be so far behind. You're going to suffer in some way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Thank you so much, Kevin. Okay. It's so nice.
So, how to use AI? I think the other thing is there are plenty of brilliant examples of prompt packs now. People are giving them away for nothing that'll help you think about how you might want to feed into AI such as Chat or Claude or Perplexity. I think Chat is recognised as being the one probably to start with. There are so many others that coming along that are good, but that's the original one to have a look at, I think. And there are things like, well, let's just try an icebreaker. Just tell me, Chat, act as a great facilitator and give me three icebreakers for a session I'm running next week
Yeah.
on influence, and then just see what it comes up with. And I always say and encourage people who are playing with it for the first time or a bit hesitant is keep refining what comes back. Use it as an exercise to stretch your thinking. And is this quality? What could I feed into the AI that would give me a better quality? And like anything, many other things, the more you put into it, the more thought you put into it, the better the result, the better the outcome's going to be.
Wow.
And then move on to how you might use some of the GPTs that come down. I use one or two of those that I've discovered are really interesting that people have created for you that would be
Yeah.
behind the scenes. They've got some built-in thinking behind it that you could use. And then look at how could you connect different things together by using chat. How might you use chat to look at what you're storing on your hard drive, for example? If you use Google Drive or Microsoft, you can do that through ChatGPT as well. It's just using this data in this folder. Tell me some stuff about it.
Yeah.
The other one I like for facilitators that surprisingly still is not as well known is Google's Notebook LM.
Mm.
That is really cool,
Yeah.
and one that is brilliant for having a discussion with two people that don't exist.
Yeah.
And you put some data into, for those that don't know, you put some data into Notebook, and you can then generate a slide deck. You can generate papers from that. You can ask it questions, interrogate the data you've uploaded, and you can also generate a podcast with two
Yeah.
people having a conversation about the data you
Yeah.
presented. The great thing about that podcast in itself, it's good, but you could pause it at any time and ask it a question. Ask a question about the subject matter, and they'll answer you. They'll have a
Wow.
conversation back to conversation, pod three-way
Interesting.
conversation with you as well. So great ways, and clearly the way you might use that in facilitation in itself gives you another idea.
Wow. That's awesome. And
Just and
yeah.
find out what's available.
Yeah. Lots of stuff. And these tools keep pouring in like every second. Every time you come online, you see there's something new, either a GPT that someone has created, or maybe OpenAI has dropped something new on the platform. All this, it's just so fast. Like, I think a lot of people are actually suffering from this information overload. Like, you have so many things to think about. Which one do you grapple with? Which one do you try? Before you finish trying this one, there's like tens or tons of them coming up, and you're wondering which one do you work with. So I think the best thing is just to be able to just stick to one or two that you can just start with and keep improving on them. And as a facilitator, like you mentioned, just use it to ask basic questions like, okay, how might you do this, or how might you prepare for this session, or those kind of stuff. So it just give you an idea and help you move faster with your project or with the workshop you want to create. Because there is,
Yeah, the
yeah,
other,
go ahead.
I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you, Ben, but I was just thinking, maybe one of the things I might encourage people to do is, in terms of the prompt, is say something like, you put in Chat GPT and LLMs in general. I'm new to it, beginner, a little trepid, should I say, of jumping in. Can you give me a 6-week program to help me guide me in slowly and pace me through it and help me understand what I can use it for in the
Yeah,
context of X, whether it be facilitations, whatever it might be, right? And
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure AI would then 6-week program, You might need to say, I can only afford 30 minutes a week or something, whatever it might
Yeah.
be. It'll give you a program maybe to build your skills slowly in a way that's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Um, that would be a good way to interact with it. It has some
Exactly.
structure. I think one of the things, and I'm saying that particularly for the facilitation community, is facilitators are the good ones at any rate for me are about process and structure, not content.
Yeah.
So having some content and structure differentiation in the chat GPT by helping you to structure your learning and let ChatGPT worry about the content of learning could be a really useful way of doing it.
Yeah, and I also feel there's something also as facilitators, since we are so much about humanity, like bringing everybody into the conversation. You can also use ChatGPT, like for example, when you ask your clients or the people you're creating a workshop for, you can ask about the kind of people you, especially if it's like a small close group, maybe of 10 or 20 people. You can ask about the personalities of those people or their job responsibilities, then get all those data and put it into ChatGPT. So and ask questions like, oh, how might I relate with this people? What kind of workshop should I design for this class of people based on this problem we're trying to solve? So it will give you an idea of what you are kind of like anticipating. So it will help you facilitate better. So it will make your workshop more engaging and more interactive because it will not allow people to sit back because facilitation is more like you making sure that everybody in that room have a stake partake in the workshop and also contribute to what you are doing, in the workshop because we are more like just guiding as facilitators. We are not coming to take over the session and propose solutions. We are bringing out solutions from the people in that organization. So it's going to help us do our work better as facilitators, I believe, and faster because sometimes you may have like maybe you have in 2 weeks you have 3 workshops to run. How do you do that without with AI now you can plan and you can also try to prepare for those workshops as much as possible.
Yeah, the other thought that occurs to me you were sharing that was my background as well as learning coaching and facilitating. I've got several other things going on, something called NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming. I'm also a trained hypnotherapist and attuned in Reiki and many other different things. Not because I do a lot of that, it's just the different belief systems. But one of the things from the NLP that stuck out to me is it's the practice of modeling excellence. So if I wanted to be as great a podcast host as you, Ben, I'd want to ask you to understand how you do what you do really well, and so that I can replicate that greatness, right? So the same thing for me would occur with and chat GPT, and this is where I go with the possibilities and back to one of our earlier questions in some ways is how could you use AI to get more understanding about what makes you great?
Yeah,
If I could
absolutely.
have AI understand how I facilitate in the way that I facilitate, then it can become an even better tool for me in my facilitation practice. If it doesn't know me, if it just thinks I'm like every other facilitator and it'll pick up what every other facilitator, the average
Yeah,
facilitator does,
yeah,
it'll give me average answers.
yeah,
If I go in, I'm brilliant at this is what I'm really good at.
yeah,
I'm not so good at this. And I've got a whole group where I think that not being so good at that is going to hold me back. What do I need to exercise or dial up in what I'm good at to compensate or whatever AI could give you some really interesting ways to practice your own facilitation process, your own
yeah.
facilitation practice.
Yeah, you can personalize it, like make it your own unique kind of, and bringing it back to what we were talking about earlier about, I believe strongly about humans having uniqueness. I believe we're in this world to give our uniqueness to each other. Like every other person has a uniqueness to share with the other person. That's why we need to network together, collaborate together, and work together as a team because there's no way you can succeed as an individual. And that's why I love facilitation because it brings everybody on, whether you want to speak or not. It has a way of bringing you into the conversation. So it makes you pour out your heart and your uniqueness into that conversation. So I believe every one of us has a uniqueness that we want to share to the world. no matter who we are, no matter how little it is, we have something unique about us that the world needs to hear or see or see us doing, so that we can be able to add our own share to the world and make it better than we met it, because sometimes I sit and I think about the world and I was like, the world has been for thousands of years, and people come, people go, and everybody has something they've left behind. So it depends on where you want to see yourself, maybe, or what you want to be remembered for. So we have to absorb our humanity and know that we are here for each other. That's why I love this song by Alicia Keys. She says, "We are here for all of us." I love that song so much. I love it because it says we are here for all of us, and that's actually true, because no one can exist alone. Just imagine someone locks you up in one island and you're there. Even if you have, maybe they give you tons of money, all the food in the world, everything you need in that island, and you're just alone. How would you feel? Just in less than a month, you start being lonely. No matter what you have around you, you won't be happy because there's no human around. Even if you have animals around, you can't feel normal because you are a human being, and you need that human connection to be able to thrive and also be happy and have joy and stuff. So it's very interesting that facilitation actually gives us that space to express that uniqueness and also help other people bring out the uniqueness in them. And that's also, in a way, I believe AI can also help us bring out the genius in us somehow, because if you can personalize it, it will also kind of like tweak itself to talk about your uniqueness in a way that is different from how the other person does what he or she does, So that's how I see it.
Totally agree. You're talking the metaphor I use, I suppose, on this one, not the Alicia Keys song because I'm not familiar with that, but I use It's a Wonderful Life. There's a film called It's a Wonderful Life, which is a very old black and white film from many, many years ago that I first saw when I was taking a day off school once when I was about 7 or 8, and it had quite a profound effect on the way I live my life.
Wow.
For those that haven't seen it, the protagonist is a guy called George Bailey.
Wow.
And an agent to save him from committing, because he feels his life is at an end because he's facing jail through some circumstance beyond his control. And the angel, he's basically saying, "Joe, I wish I'd never been born." And the angel says, "That's a great idea. We could do that." And he creates a world where George Bailey had never been born, and he sees the difference the world, how different the world is without him.
Wow.
The hole that he left, and the ways that people were affected by not knowing him.
Wow.
And the message about, you connect with everyone around you in ways that you don't even know you've connected with people. People that don't know you are impacted by you in some way, and the radiation, the ripples of your self and your presence are felt with people that don't even know you in some way. Then wouldn't it be great if you more consciously sent out those ripples in a way that were beneficial for others rather than to the detriment of others? And there is a great analogy, I think, to AI, is how do we harness AI so those ripples are engaging, enhancing, and even expanding our humanity, than reducing it and shrinking it because we're just using it as a crutch to do stuff we don't like to do.
Interesting. That's awesome. Interesting. So I'm so happy that we have this conversation, and I also want you to speak to us about Facilitators Cafe. Like, just talk to us about what Facilitators Cafe is about and how people can get in touch and also join your community.
I think, well, the Facilitators Cafe, it started in 2020 when the world went crazy and we all had to lock ourselves away because of COVID. And I hadn't done facilitation online. Indeed, the Facilitators Cafe started in 2020 when the world went crazy through COVID and we were all locked down, and I had to transfer onto online on Zoom such as this. And I hadn't come across Zoom at that time. All I'd come across was platforms that enabled you to do webinars and broadcast and teach and train, not facilitate. And that's not me, because as we've been talking, I subscribe to your thought that it's about bringing out insights and empowering others to think rather than me imposing my views on other people. So I brought a few people around so that we could learn from each other. And what I found, again, as we were talking earlier, that my assumption was they'd be able to teach me, and they couldn't because they were 4 or 5 steps behind where I was in some ways. We learned stuff together, but learned because I brought people in that did know what they were doing and had platforms, ideas, methodologies, tools, techniques that could help us online. That's gone now, not just online, but we talk about offline facilitation as well. We have a monthly gathering, usually the third Thursday of a month. Today we had a guy called Peter Freethon who did a great session on the balancing act between wanting to be invisible as a facilitator and wanting value to be seen as a facilitator, which kind of is a really interesting dichotomy. And we have several others. We've got a guy called Jan Keck coming on next month to do some stuff about icebreakers and why they don't work particularly well, and an alternative to thinking in that way. So we have people coming on that are well known in the facilitation world, and sometimes outside the facilitation world, that can help our thinking and drive us to think and practice facilitation in a better way. We also have a store now, which I've been developing some guides and prompt cards, and you'll all find that on the Facilitators Cafe website, which is facilitatorscafe.co.uk. There's a LinkedIn group which is becoming more and more active as days go by. About 700 or 800 people now in that group.
Wow.
So it's a growing community, one of many around the world, but it's a growing community, and they're all great people.
Wow, awesome. So glad to hear that. And I'm actually going to join that community. I don't think I've joined, so I'm going to join.
Brilliant. We welcome you in.
I'm going to join that community, and I'm glad that we have this conversation. And I hope that when next we call, you're going to oblige and come to join the show and speak about what you're doing and the great things and great work you're doing. Because it's actually brilliant that during COVID, you actually decided to call people together and continue with the work of facilitating and all that. You thought of a way of doing that online. Then I don't think there's any facilitator that is doing anything online during COVID. I think it all came together after COVID and people started trying to go online. So it's really brilliant and also thoughtful of you to do that. And even I myself actually did not really do much online till after COVID. That was when I started going online to do stuff and see where I am now with Tech Sculptics and all the other things I'm doing. Actually, I've met a lot of great people in the Facilitators Club community too. So, and it's awesome that you are doing awesome work and you have a group of people you are also mentoring and working with. That's actually very, very good. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
Thank you, Ben.
And I'm so grateful that you came to the show and we had this conversation. Even after a lot of cancellation and postponement, I'm happy that at last we had it, you know, and thank you so much for the patience. Thank you so much for the patience and the time you've given me. I really do appreciate it and I value it so, so much. We take it so much not for granted, but we actually honor you and thank you for your time. So we're going to look out for you again. And once again, we'll call you some other time to discuss more on facilitation and AI tools and how people are using it to better run their workshops. Thank you.
I'd love that. I'd love that. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Tech Sculptics, where the future's bright. Innovation, we're reaching new heights.